Hello and welcome to this edition of World Watch with Open Doors, in which we focus on the People's Republic of China, where Christians have experienced some of the worst persecution on record. But incredibly, the rate at which the Christian church has been growing has also broken all records, especially in the last 2 decades. Yet, as Paul Esterbrook reports, the explosion of the church produces major challenges, to which those of us in the free world surely must respond.
It looks like just another of the great capitalist cities of the world, doesn't it? But to think so is to be deluded. Here in Shanghai, you could be forgiven for believing you were in the heart of a busy Western metropolis. The hallmarks are everywhere, from the fast food outlets to the Western fashions displayed on the main streets of the city. In bars and clubs, the playlist is Western, with songs like Lady Be Good. The openness to communication might surprise you. In my hotel room, CNN is readily available on Channel 1, though you will search in vain for the Gideon Bible. Many of the people in the streets will greet you in English and welcome you to their city. It seems that China is just like the rest of the free world. In reality, China is the most powerful communist nation in the world today, and widely predicted to become the superpower of the 21st century. It's a regime that officially brands religion as superstition, and only for the weak. It could have been so very different. Along this waterfront, missionaries used to arrive with the message of Jesus Christ. From here, they traveled inland throughout the country. One of the best known among them was Hudson Taylor, who walked these very streets, dreaming of the day when the gospel would be shared with everyone throughout the country of China. The man we now know as Chairman Mao had different ideas. Had it not been for one of the most dramatic revolutions in the world, Chinese people today might be living in a democracy. What happened in this Shanghai building in July 1921 changed the whole course of China's history. It's here that 12 conspirators met in what was the first meeting of the Chinese Communist Party. One of the 12, interesting number, isn't it? One of the 12 was a man named Mao Zedong, still revered in China today. Mao was the founding father of modern Chinese communism. His aim was total control. To achieve that, he had to impose himself on the hearts and minds of China's vast millions. His powerful speeches were collected in the famous Little Red Book, which the entire population had to study, recite, and apply.
We must be ruthless to our enemies, overpower and annihilate them. Revolution is not a dinner party. Power comes from the barrel of the gun. War is the highest form of struggle or resolving contradictions.
Mao's drive for total control climaxed in the Cultural Revolution that began in 1966 and lasted for 10 long years until his death. Students were incited to despise or torture their teachers. Works of art and every kind of literature were destroyed. Red Guards ransacked the homes of the educated or religious. Young people were forced to inform on their parents. Self-criticism sessions intensified. Many of them ended with suicide. Doctors and surgeons were forced to clean hospital toilets and floors.
I received medical training in the PQ Union Medical College, so they think I must be treated even more severely. I said, you have been training clean the streets for me to use. Now it's my turn to clean the streets for you to use.
Part of the heritage to be swept away was, of course, the Christian church.
I was one of the leaders in the Youth Red Guards. My family were Christians, and so I hated them and turned against them. I made sure they were blacklisted and their homes were raided. I personally handed over my parents' Bible and hymn books to be burned in public.
In Shanghai alone, nearly 300 churches were closed in just 1 month. But Mao's strategy did not work. Today in this very city, there are estimated to be at least 20,000 unregistered house churches. Can you see what an obstacle, what an impediment the Christian church was to the revolutionary plan? But can you also see how living faith was so vital to those subjected to political bondage? A faith they would not relinquish, whatever the cost. The stage was set for dramatic conflict. This pastor spent 22 years in prison because, like Daniel's friends, he would not bow his knee to anyone but the living God. Professor Chen taught music at the university. He also composed many Chinese hymns and was an accomplished pianist. Early in the Cultural Revolution, the Red Guards ransacked his home, burned his precious manuscripts and library in a huge fire. Then came the ultimatum: deny your faith in Christ or you will never play the piano again. Professor Chen replied, I love Jesus. I would never deny him. The Red Guards took his hands, held them in the fire until his fingers burned off.